Hi, I'm Gary Strigler, and this is one of my favorite projects. It's a Murphy bed or a wall bed. I've done a bunch of these. Of course, at some point here pretty quick, we're going to do a video on cabinet making. We're going to talk about how I did all these cabinets, but what I want to share today is a real simple trick. If you've ever built one of these Murphy beds, it's like the most practical projects you could ever do. And they're very simple, very approachable. I've done one video on it, but we might try and do a condensed version of that too. If this is bigger than just a twin-size bed, this back plywood panel has to have a splice in it. Now, the difference in that rule is sometimes we'll actually put a face frame over this and molding and create kind of a different, more traditional look, but a lot of people today don't like that. Plus, for me, that adds $500 or $600 to the cost of this. And it also, if you decide to do that, and I'm starting to get into the Murphy bed deal, you have to make sure you take into consideration that extra thickness at your pivot point and everything. So that's a great look too, but the simplest, and I think still a great look, is just this pattern of saw curves that are cut into the plywood. Also, when I edge band, you can see it's edge banded with some solid wood that has a little rebate on the edge, which gives a saw curve. But why did I choose this detail? If you were to measure from right here over to here, you'd find that that's 4 foot. In other words, I hid the joint between the two pieces of plywood right in that saw curve. Now, I'm not going to say it's absolutely impossible to get a perfectly flush joint between two pieces of plywood, but I think you have to have a little bit of luck and a lot of skill, and I would much rather just hide that joint in a saw curve and then follow that pattern all the way around. Now, just one other little tip. I did add these two pieces together. I put dominoes, but you could put biscuits or whatever. And then I got on a very flat surface and clamped it together, let it dry overnight. Then I flipped it over and took the track saw. And again, the great thing about the track saw, of course, the number one thing to remember on this is test the depth of your cut. We just want to be about 1/8 of an inch deep. And then, this track saw just laid right there. I made the cut, and again, well, you want to double check. Then the next thing I did is I came over. Actually, I guess I made that cut, made this cut, then came over and made these two cuts, and finally did the bottom. But do take your time when you're doing that. Make sure you use some clamps to hold the track in place. And double check your measurements, because nothing looks worse than if this goes from being 4.5 to 4 in between. So anyway, that's a great trick. It's adding a detail that I think looks very nice, that makes my job actually easier. And I've done this other times. Even, you could create a wall wainscot using this detail. Anyway, lots of options. A saw curve can be a great trim detail.